Oh my
It's
goodness,
easy.
bro.
I'm just saying.
Everybody so far.
No, it's just see. This is why. We titled the show what we titled it today, and that's organizations win titles. You look at the current organization, leadership in the organization that one LeBron James plays for, and you look at leadership in the organization Steph Curry plays for. I'll say it again, and I'll double down on this morning. When it's all said and done, Steph Curry will have championships than LeBron James. I didn't say he was a better player. I said he's going to have more championships than LeBron James. Why? Because he has an organization that's going to put him in a better position moving forward than one LeBron James. And unfortunately, I have to, because I love Chicago. I love Chicago, but Bron just happens to be playing with the most fragile dude to ever come to Chicago. I have no clue why he's that fragile. I just don't. I have no clue. Like I watch, and sometimes I almost want to take Chicago out of his birthplace. Like, man, we're not built like that. I don't understand why this dude can literally break a toenail and be out for like 3 weeks. I have no clue.
No clue. Tell you, I was at the game where he rolled his ankle. It was out there last time.
Oh no! Did it look that bad in person?
I was sitting right there, bro. I was like maybe 10 feet, 20 feet away from it. I saw it when it happened, and it really looked like one of those ankle rolls that you have at the YMCA, where you like, oh, damn. But I didn't think it'd be the rest of the season.
That's crazy.
But the thing is, he's so tall that I can imagine that stuff like that will hurt a long time because it's like a lot of height to move around.
Right. That's crazy.
I think the information.
Man. Yeah. So I hope Malik gets back in. Technical difficulties this morning, man, with the connection for that dude. When we think about organizations winning championships, I go back to the words of one Jerry Krause, general manager of the Chicago Bulls back in the 90s, right? And like one of the most incredible things that he used to always say behind that is that, top to bottom, organizations win championships. But that statement kind of caused dissension that ended up leading to the last dance in the last championship in the 98 season. So I'm watching last night and I asked the question, yo, with everything that's going on, we talk about recruiting, we talk about the coaching. Does Notre Dame need to take another step from an organizational standpoint to become a consistent national title contender? Good program right now. I don't know if I would consider Notre Dame a consistent national title contender, right? Realistically. I mean, just being realistic. I don't think every year I come into the year saying, yep, we got a good shot to beat Bama. Yep, we got a good shot to beat Georgia. Yep, we got a good shot to beat Clemson. Now, the Clemson thing, because it's happened, and as I said before, I watched that ACC championship game, and Notre Dame pretty much dominated the first quarter and a half and just missed opportunities, allowed Clemson to hang around. Notre Dame could have been up anywhere from 13-0 to 17-0 early in that game, and could have probably changed the entire complexity of that game, the flow of that game, and how things ended up. So what's the next step, right? Jack Swarbrick has done an amazing job, an absolute amazing job with raising funds, improving facilities, making sure that Notre Dame is always at the table when it comes to the business of college football. He was at the forefront of letting everyone know he stepped out in front of NIL before it became legislation and said Notre Dame is going to take a step back and let things play out. You know, a lot of people, a lot of Notre Dame fans feel like, no, we need to get in the race. We need to do more. I applaud Jack Swarbrick for saying that we're not about to get into the mud of all of this in the beginning. We're going to let it play out and see how everything plateaus. And then we'll decide how we get into it as a university. I know for them, they are worried about getting to a point where something is done or said that ends up being a violation. That they don't want on their resume. So I understand to an extent why they've taken a step back. Organizations win championships. You just saw a great example. Actually, two great organizations battling it out for the NBA final. Boston Celtics trying to one-up the Lakers and become the all-time winningest organization as far as NBA championships. 4 and 8 years, Bob Meyer, GM of the Golden State Warriors, and what he did. Not rebuilding, but kind of retooling on the fly. Losing Kevin Durant to the Brooklyn Nets and actually allowing a trade, of Kevin Durant to sign and trade to the Brooklyn Nets. Got them Andrew Wiggins, got them Jonathan Kuminga, which is, he's the future. That first round, that number 1 overall pick from 2 years ago, the Wiseman kid. They held him out purposely. He could have come back. He could have played. They could have rushed him, but they held him back. You get the return of Klay Thompson. He wasn't Klay of 2015 and 16, but he made big shots. You can see why what Jerry Krause made the statement that he made. Now, ultimately, Jerry Krause was just looking for some attention. Michael and Scotty just pretty much stole all the attention with Phil Jackson, and Jerry Krause wanted some attention, and he made the statement, organizations win championships. So my question is that something that is universally accepted, or is that something that is based upon situations, right? Because that's why we asked the question today. Does Notre Dame need to change some things? And I'm glad you're back on, bro, because we talk about on the field, in the locker room, coaching staff, things that really kept you all from maximizing the talent that you had on the roster. When we start talking about impact of the fan base, impact of the school, the community, South Bend itself, support from the administration, do you think Notre Dame is there and has that to be able to be a consistent title contender? That would be my question, because I didn't live it. I'm not in South Bend. I don't really know about the community. I know it feels beautiful when I step on campus as a fan. Everything feels like a dream. But do you feel like the program got the support or gets the support that it needs to be able to contend for a national title each and every year?
I think that I think it can be done at Notre Dame. Well, speaking from the perspective of when I was there, it could be done at Notre Dame if you had the right people to do it,
Yeah.
because Notre Dame is not a place for everybody. So yes, Dame has support resources, this, that, and the third, but those support resources and etc. don't fit just anybody to come in there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a niche program, which is which makes it special in and of itself, but it's not a program that fits for everybody. So Notre Dame during the time I was there, yeah, we had all the potential and the resources and the support to win a national championship, but we had guys get suspended, we had guys get in trouble, we had guys get injured, we had guys, go through a lot of different phases that some of the players and that same team that were going through those things in another system, you probably wouldn't experience that. Like the team with Tim Tebow and Urban Meyer in Florida couldn't have had that success at Notre Dame. Like they wouldn't have made it.
Mm.
They just wouldn't have made it through the program long enough to stay intact to win a championship, and let alone back to back. So Notre Dame is more of a niche in that instant, but is at the same time consistent because that program is built on a traditional, consistent basis where
Yeah.
you can win a championship. It has the right ingredients and stuff, but if you miss, you still gonna have some good stuff going on. And I think that's what uh, separates Notre Dame from every other school is that even when we miss the mark, we're gonna be in the running every year. You'll get a team or a school like Florida who got some ingredients and they catch fire here and there, but they're not consistent. And that's what separates us from out the other schools out there. So,
Lucky Lefty podcast, the amazing thing that you talk about is always being in the mix. And I think recruiting is kind of catching up to that, right? Which is crazy because I think Marcus Freeman is raising the level to now Notre Dame when it comes to high level recruits. They're in the mix. They weren't before, but they're in the mix now. So, how do we go from being in the mix in recruiting and in the mix as a program to being, yep, Notre Dame's going to be right there. They'll have a chance to win a national championship every year. Like, what is the next step? Is it as simple as a change in head coach, a change in attitude? Is there something else? Does it need to be expansion with the facilities? Does there need to be an addition to the Goog? I mean, I'm just asking because I think the sports complex, every time I go down there, looks absolutely amazing. But is it comparable to other top programs? And, does it line up with how these kids in the class of 24, 25, and 26, how they view everything and what they want to view everything? Does Notre Dame do enough from a social media standpoint, right? I think what we saw with Richard Young and Marcus Freeman on social media was a far departure from what we've seen from Notre Dame recruiting wise in a long time. Like I've never seen, well, of course, you've never seen the head coach be that visible on social media and be comfortable in doing so. It wasn't forced. This wasn't him standing at half court with a fake accent. Like Marcus Freeman, chilling and kicking it, coming out of Cafe Navarre, driving his Ferrari.
I didn't even know Ferraris were in South Bend. I didn't even know they even shipped to that city. I didn't know you can even order Ferrari to the city of South Bend. Like, that's why I was like, oh yeah, they're different. Like, you know, you go to Chicago, they got them, but the toll roads don't even let those kind of cars go past Gary. So I'm surprised they let Marcus Freeman get in there like that.
Yo.
Because I'm really wondering how he got it there. Because there's not a Ferrari dealership for miles and counties and areas.
Let's see. The closest major cities are what? The Nap.
The Nap don't even got them for real.
I'm sure the Nap has some Ferraris.
Ferrari stores?
Not a store. No, not a store. Maybe not.
Yeah, you better.
I'm sure somebody.
It's a www.com if you in Indiana. It's a .com. If you in South Bend, it's a .com you got to go to.
Dude, the trip to Chicago is real quick, right? And he doesn't even have to go to the inner city. He can stay in the south suburbs and find a Ferrari.
Go to Vernon Hills or something, man.
Orland Park, Frankfurt, over in that area. He can find some dealerships that can get him a Ferrari over in that area. So,
but I do think though Notre Dame, from what are they doing enough, or what do they need? What we need is a Steph Curry. That's what we need. We need, like, the Warriors got the structure for a low budget team, but what makes it so easy is they got Steph Curry. Like, why is the Patriots so good for so long? You got a low budget team, but you got Tom Brady. We're no different than a Warriors franchise, a Patriots franchise, any consistently good team franchise, dynasty wise. We just need that generational talent. And I know that's easier said than done, but from an ingredient standpoint, what do we need more of? Outside of being like everybody else, we're good in our own lane. We got our own TV deal. We got all the renovations for new stuff. We got money. You know, I think the kids are spoiled on an experiential trip. I mean, they're going to Ireland next year.
right. Thanks.
They kicking ass. So if you ask the kids on the team, what do you really need? It's not so much of a need. It's more of a help me plan out the future at that point. You know, what does that 4 for 40 look like for real?
Yeah.
Like, let me actually see what these calls look like after I graduate. Which at that point, that's real life. You know, you better start plugging and chugging. But from a football experience, I mean, I think what was highly missing was the excitement, in which they found with Marcus Freeman. I think people just generally were bored. You know, it was very, very routine in the building, like stale bread. It's good, but it ain't fresh. You see what I'm saying? It was just stale bread in the goob. So I think with the combination of the new building and the fresh lineups you seen in the hallway from the head coach and the assistants and the media even got better. I see us doing some things where in recruiting we made the whole thing about Richard Young. That was pretty dope. He walk in, it's nobody but him in the jumbotron. We didn't even have a jumbotron when I was there.
Right.
So, you know, Notre Dame acknowledges what it takes to update and keep that money rolling in outside of the fundraising. And they made improvements on the football stadium. So that, from what Notre Dame sees in the future, they got it down pat.
Lucky Lefty
Is it
podcast.
perfect? Yeah, go ahead. So,
featuring and brought to you by Onora Whiskey at NoraWhiskey.com. It's that premium American whiskey at NoraWhiskey.com. If you drink, make sure that you do drink responsibly. We're going to let you continue to ride. I just want to let you know it is for the Culture Friday. So, you know, we're going to get to that dud that your boy dropped at midnight last night. Oh, you thought I was going to let that slide? You really thought I was gonna let that slide? We're definitely talking about that dud that your boy
It
dropped
ain't
in
no
me. He
dud. It
thought he
ain't no
was
dud.
slick. He thought
You
he would
just
drop it,
you just
you
can't
know.
catch up. You just gotta
Say it
catch up.
again.
You just gotta catch up, Shaun.
Catch up to what?
It's like remember when they dropped the PSP back in the early
You
2000s?
do realize I'm from Chicago, the home of house music, right? What am I catching up on?
Wait a
Please
minute,
tell
wait
me
a
what I'm
minute,
catching up on.
wait a minute. You
Please
catch
tell me. Please tell me what I'm catching up on.
you're
Please.
catching up on the fact that a guy that's considered the GOAT is trying new things. That's all. We we
He
we
needs
expecting
to.
that we expecting that energy, that
Yeah.
50 band, 100
Yeah.
band, 30.
Uh-huh.
That because that's what he's goaded for.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But everybody's biggest complaint was
He
he
created.
always giving us the same thing, always giving us the same thing. And now the man want to try something new. And everybody want to talk crazy. Everybody got something to say.
Bro, keep looking because that ain't it.
Ah,
That ain't it. That ain't it. And this is a good point. Jay Henry, that's a good point. Because when it came out this week that Beyonce was on the way, everybody got a little skittish that was dropping over the summer.
here we go. Here
I'm
we
just
go.
saying, bro. I'm
He
just
made an
saying.
album that's if you're
That's
a real Drake
trash.
fan, you can appreciate. How is it trash? You don't get the message. You don't get the.
We doing messaging now. That's what we doing. That's what we doing.
He's so goaded. It's the fact that everybody is expecting the same thing, but talk stuff about when he does the same thing. So he
Well,
doesn't do the same thing, and people start what? What's the complaint now? But in the next couple weeks, I bet you're gonna cut that album back on.
oh, not me.
I bet you're gonna cut it back on.
I bet you I won't. I bet you I won't. I bet. I bet you. We can bet that. We can definitely put money on that.
Yeah, you're gonna cut
Nah,
it on. It's gonna be at a
no.
function. It's gonna be on at a function you at because it's Drake.
I mean, if somebody else desires to play mid music, I mean, I just happen to be there. Then
Oh,
it's
now
nothing
it's
wrong with
mid.
it.
Now it's mid.
Oh, it's absolutely mid. If you're
Uh,
about to sit up here and act like that's top quality Drake catalog,
it's
we all lying in here.
it doesn't fit Drake's
I
catalog
said
because
it
that's
doesn't have to fit. Doesn't have to fit. Dude, I listen to jazz, I listen to R&B, I listen to hip hop, I listen to rock, I listen to a bunch of genres of music. Good music is good music, right? I tell people this all the time. Like, I forget who said this. Oh, Savage 21. Shout out to Savage 21. He was on a podcast recently. And he was like, man, you can do social media, you can do clothing and style and all of that. The music has to hit. If your music isn't hitting, all that other stuff don't matter.
so now you're saying it wasn't even hitting.
So all of that messaging and all of that other stuff, man,
So
stop that.
now you saying it's not even a vibe. It wasn't hitting at all.
Dude, what
Because now
vibe?
you're not telling the truth.
What vibe? Please tell me. What vibe? No, no, no. Listen to me. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you why. And I speak for most of the people that I know in the industry that grew up in Chicago like me. The home, the home, the home of house music. We were disappointed that he put out mid house tracks. For us, we were like, if you're gonna go that route, if you're going to go that route, then you have to do the genre correctly and give it its just due. That's like me making a go-go song from Chicago and then get mad when people from DC are like, dude, that's a super mid go-go track. That's how people
So
in Chicago feel this
So
way.
okay, say what it is. What is it out of a 10? Give it out of 10. What you giving it? Since you saying it's mid. What is it?
About 6.5,
Oh,
6.5, 6.5,
see, I might have to see. See, we need
six
to
and a
listen to real hip hop historians like Braun, who got an inside scoop because him and Drake are tight, Lobos, all that. That's the opinion that you probably want to go with because LeBron know, you know what I'm saying? He know.
Yeah, we'll wait. I guarantee you, Bron won't be talking about this project like he's talked about the other ones. I guarantee you that. Look, you got the podcast. He thought I was gonna let that dud slip. It's for the Culture Friday. There's no way I was letting that dud slip by. Beyonce coming up in the next week or so. Everybody's excited about that. We have some recruiting news. I did forget yesterday. I was supposed to let everybody know that Christian Hamilton, number one player in North Carolina, 23 wide receiver, did indeed. I saw somebody said Notre Dame canceled his visit. No. The young man decided to close his recruiting. He's obviously made a decision. He tweeted that out. That's the reason why he canceled his trip. Notre Dame was still trying to get him to come. Like, I know everybody wants Notre Dame to look a certain way in situations. I saw people talk about Notre Dame canceled his trip. No.
Even
That's
though
not
it wouldn't
how.
be surprising
And
though.
more than likely, he's going to. No, I do say this. I will say this. Domino. Note in my Cardell Tate is going to commit to Ohio State.
Not Tennessee.
Tennessee's going to be upset. They made a nice push.
Wow.
They probably jumped Notre Dame in the process. They put up a
I
lot.
wonder what changed though with Carnell.
They put up a lot of money. But at the end of the day, Brandon Ennis is his boy. He just won a 7-on-7 championship with him out in Vegas. And Ohio State wants Carnell, Brandon Ennis, and Noah Rogers as their wide receivers in the class. Which, this is the thing, other than getting Carnell Tate, which I think all Notre Dame fans would love to get him in the class, if Carnell Tate goes to Ohio State, Rico Flores is all Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah, because Rico's deciding between Ohio State too.
This is the domino effect of everything. This is how things go in recruiting. If Carnell goes to Tennessee, then all bets are off. It's going to be a battle to the end for Rico.
Yeah.
However, if Carnell says I'm going to Ohio State, Brandon Ennis is pretty much Alabama jumped in on him late. But Brandon Ennis is going to Ohio State. Noah Rogers probably ends up at Ohio State quicker than either one of those guys. Well, not quicker because Carnell, he just put it out. I think he put out a screenshot of his video on his IG yesterday or early today. And like I said, his announcement is going to probably be next week sometime. I think he's leaning Ohio State right now. I think Tennessee did an amazing job. They really did. They made him think about a lot of stuff. But ultimately, I think he goes to Ohio State. I really do. And that bodes well because we get Rico. I think we get Ronan Hannafin. Jaden Greathouse.
I really think Stuckey really wanted Rico, though, over Carnell.
I mean,
and Stuckey really recruits out this way anyway, so maybe that's why.
Let me tell you about Carnell. Carnell is a Ferrari. That's perfect. Carnell is a Ferrari. His body type, his speed, he is a Ferrari, right? So now it comes to question, is he going to be Garrett Wilson? Or is he going to be he's
not as big as Garrett Wilson, though.
That's the point. He's not, but Garrett Wilson was not as big, stout as Chris Olave. You know what I'm saying? Or in Jigba Smith or Smith and Jigba. So
Carnell's like Rodney Harrison Jr. built almost. Like they built.
Rodney Harrison Jr.
I mean,
Hey, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison Jr.'s son. They kind of
Marvin
built
Harrison
his
Jr.
game.
is pretty cut up. If you look at his
Oh, he's
IG
cut up
post,
now. Like he got big.
yeah, that dude is on some. You know what I'm saying? Like he, like he got some of his pop's old product or something. You know what I'm saying?
But Carnell is more of a receiver than Rico is. Rico is just like he's a football guy. Like, but that's more of what Notre Dame's recruiting anyway. Notre Dame's recruiting football players. Just like I talked to Xavier Watts yesterday.
Yeah.
He was saying it's just a team full of guys that can do whatever, you know. So Carnell is like position specific, like receiver room, Ohio State. I can see him fitting in that only because he gonna come to a Notre Dame room, receiver room where he's looking around being like, you
Yeah.
just switched over, you just started playing, they got you playing everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I can fit with the guys in the room because there's no technician. It's like a young guy. All of y'all 6'5". We got some tall receivers, so I think it'd just be an interesting dynamic uh, for him to be in that room. But Ohio State fits more in line to the type of guy he is: speed, cuts, big
Yep.
plays down the field. So it makes sense.
I
But
agree.
it also makes you question the quarterback situation. Maybe he looked at it like, if Dante comes, Dante maybe not. If he doesn't come, do I like what I got there? I don't know.
You know what I really think it came down to? I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. And this is something maybe at that position that Notre Dame is going to have to deal with until things get rolling under Marcus Freeman. It was tough to beat Ryan Day and Josh Heupel. Like when the head coach is the offensive guy, the conversations are different, right? His conversations with Marcus Freeman, probably great, absolutely great. And then to start digging, Marcus Freeman has to pass him off to Tommy. Just really start digging in on the offensive side of the ball. You see, he can sit there and talk to Ryan Day and Josh Heupel all day. No assistant needed
Yeah.
at all. None. Like, yo, this is what's up. That means a lot to some receivers, man. That means a lot. And with him being, he was just elevated to the number one receiver in the class of 2023. You know, that could have been it for him.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. I can imagine like Cardinal, especially talking to him, how the development of what the coaches could do for him there.
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman can't really tell him nothing for real. I mean, well, come on, he's great, but he's still a linebacker. You know, he
Right. Right.
don't. And chances are he just getting there. It's a new development of a relationship. You know, like you said, he can go sit down and talk to Ryan Day all day about this is what we can do. Look at our receivers. I mean, that's a slam dunk from what
Right.
Carnell told us he was looking for.
Right.
When you go over to the Notre Dame room, it's like, okay, well, you know, it's a new process. Everybody's kind of learning each other
Right.
from coaches to players and players to coaches. So it's a good and bad. It's a figuring out process, especially this first year, just seeing how things will be ran after the recruiting is settled. Because I think we've hit it heavy, but now we throw everybody in the room. How we doing
Right.
it?
Right.
You know, we close the doors and try to figure this out for the summer. So I think that it just fit, and that's what recruiting is important about fit. Carnell Tate been in Notre Dame 50 million times and loved everything about it.
Yeah.
But when it probably came down to getting serious about choosing, it was like fit. Maybe that's not the fit for me, which is fine because shoot, we're good over here.
I think the worst thing for Notre Dame was the fact that Tennessee came into the picture, right? Because up to that point, it was really okay.
Ohio State, Notre
Ohio
Dame.
State, Notre Dame, and what you're dealing with is knowing at the time your boy is connected to Notre Dame. That's a possibility, playing with your boy. Notre Dame was the first school to jump on you. Probably, if you're choosing from a heart standpoint, Notre Dame is probably that school. Close to home, family can come watch you. But then all of a sudden, Tennessee jumps in it. They give Nico 8 reportedly, and all of a sudden, Josh Heupel gets your ear. Coach Brooks, did a great job as a positional coach recruiting him, and things just kind of turned after that second visit to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And the family fell in love with Tennessee. And it could be simple as, and you have to think about this as well, because you're thinking about a family that was willing to relocate their son for the betterment of his chances in high school, sending him to IMG. If there was no COVID, Carnell would still be playing in Chicago.
And it'll probably be closer to deciding with Notre Dame by proximity.
Exactly. But now, you're talking about a family that's open to relocating, not just like they're open to relocating to be around him.
And him seeing that and also being around guys who are from all over.
Right.
With all
Right.
type of offers.
Right.
It's different than being in Chicago. You're the only one on the team with a Notre Dame offer that everybody else wants. You go down to IMG away from the city,
Yeah,
with a bunch of guys that got offers everywhere else too, and the conversation started flowing. And Pemba talked about it. Carnell talked about it a little bit. They ask each other questions. They
right.
Share information that you're not gonna get from the school in Chicago. Like Malik Elsley probably like, man, I know they offer mean a lot. With Carnell not in Chicago anymore, it's like Notre Dame is great, but shoot, look at all these other ones.
Right. Right. And then you know how he was, bro. Like we could dig deep and just he told us he basically called certain coaches corny. Like, man, this dude is corny. And basically he was all about how you approach me as a coach. Like, don't try to big time me. And there were certain coaches at big programs that tried that big time approach. And man, they were kind of cut early on. Like, no, you don't have no shot at me. So you don't know how interactions go. It could literally be a phone call or something that just changes the mind of the family, changes the mind of the parents. But there was definitely a switch or a shift that took place. And I don't think it had anything to do per se with Mark, because Marcus Freeman talks to him still every week. Tommy still has a great relationship. I just think for some reason, I have to tip my hat to Notre Dame. You know why, bro?
They stay themselves. That's true.
That right there, bro. I'll say this, and I'm trying to make sure I say this correctly. There have been, I think certain recruits have tried to leverage what has been offered elsewhere to see what Notre Dame would do. And you know what? I take my hat off to Notre Dame for saying we're not doing that.
Yeah, we just not. They'll be like, that's just not who we are. Like,
if we lose you, we lose you.
Yeah, it's like
if we lose you, we lose you. But we're not doing that, man. And as a fan base, you can feel like, oh man, we're losing out on kids. It's like, nah, be you, right? No matter what happens, be you. And
Notre Dame.
Yeah, you're Notre Dame. And if you have to go from gaining Carnell Tate to ultimately getting a commitment from Rico Flores Ronan Hannafin and Jaden Greathouse, then you rock with that. You rock with that and be happy. And be happy.
And be happy.
There's a lot of great receivers in this country, man. We will always love to get the number one receiver, but there's a lot of good talent.
But that's why we've been able to be consistent because we don't change for a recruit where if the recruit bombs out, it destroys the momentum of the program.
Yeah.
So because we aren't leaning on that instant, being that nothing is bigger than the brand, they tell you that the first day.
Mm-hmm.
So that even means recruiting. So I do think that because we do that, we fit people into the program. Some don't fit, but we account for the liability. You know what I mean? Like Notre Dame has great insurance when it comes to recruiting and hitting or missing on players because they never tank the program itself, even through controversy. It's just like we accounted for some liability in this, so we'll just keep moving forward. But because of that, next man in mentality's been strong. Appearing in the playoffs as a non-conference team is appearing strong. So we do some things that are underrated because if you look at every other independent team, they're not even close to what we're able to accomplish by ourselves.
Lucky Lefty podcast, man. By the way, I put Malik up on these. I won't say the brand, but if you love almonds, go and try these smokehouse almonds. They're absolutely amazing. Something to snack on, keep you away from the bad fast food, bro. In between meals. It's helping me out a lot.
What is it, the taste or is it more salty? What is it?
It is, imagine almonds kind of having like a grill taste off the grill with like kind of a chipotle spice to it,
Okay.
like Southwestern style. My missus told me to check them out. They're wonderful.
Mm.
They're wonderful. They're absolutely wonderful. So the list this week, right? Not as big as last weekend. We got Jeremiah Love out of St. Louis, the aforementioned Jaden Greathouse. Those are the guys. Those are two of the guys that are uncommitted. Cooper Flanagan commit, Joe Otting, Brendan Vernon, Boubacar Traore, your guy. All commits will be on campus. Micah Bell, big time guy that you spoke to, cornerback, he'll be on campus, and Josiah Wagner, another cornerback. And then on the 19th and 20th, after his visit to Michigan on the 17th and 18th, Charles Jagasaw comes into town. They get him all by himself. So hopefully they can close the deal on him. We talked about the foolishness when people reporting that there's one spot for two people between him and Monroe Freeland. Like, that's some more bull, right? Stop. Look, we just gave you the inside information on Carnell Tate. I'm cool with rocking with the wide receivers we're going to end up getting. Tobias Merriweather is going to be an impact or make an impact this year. And he's probably going to be here for 3 years. I think he's that talent. Jeremiah Love is trending to Notre Dame. Can they get him to commit this weekend? Probably not. But most of these 23 kids really, it's only the rare few that want to take it into the fall and take the game day visits. Like most of these kids want to be done before the start of their seasons in August and have it over with. So, we'll see. We'll see. I think Micah Bell, you had a great conversation with him. I think ultimately he's going to end up in Notre Dame. Josiah Wagner.
Yeah. Yeah, the way he sounded, it was just like basically he ain't even visit any other schools for real. So
Right.
I find it hard for him to go to Notre Dame for the first time and not like it enough to commit soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because he made it seem like, yeah, like all these choices I have are just based off of me hearing about them pretty much. And I haven't been anywhere, but I want to commit pretty soon. So I mean, where else you gonna go if your choice is you can win like you want to win, like you say? You ain't doing that at Harvard.
Right.
So hopefully we get him to commit.
So I'm not sure. Like I said, if look, they want both tackles if they both want to come to Notre Dame, right? They
Yes.
want to take 25. It's like you set up in recruiting, you set up your next 3 cycles, if I'm not mistaken. So you set the numbers you want in 24, then you set the numbers you want in 25 and 26. And that's how you break it down based upon expectation of transfers and the seniors that will be graduating and players that will be leaving early for the NFL. Like you map all of that out. That's how they came up with the number 25 this year. If they go 26 this year and add another person, then that just means they have one less next year. It's like it's not, there really is no rocket science to it. We take a 5-star tackle this year. That's one less offensive lineman we have to recruit next year. It's really that simple. It's no rocket science to it. It's simple addition and simple numbers on your roster and scholarships. That's all it is. So let's see. Dr. Karl Marx is doing his thing like he always does, talking crazy, just saying stupid stuff. Let's see. Let's get to some of your questions and comments. That's not right there. If we're not recruiting in the top 5 year after year, this is the same as Kelly. Freeman is like literally right now, they have the number 1 classes for 2 years. We can't talk about the future. We talk about right now. And as much as you want to troll and talk about everybody else going to other schools, what's happening right now? Right now, as we stand today, Notre Dame has the number 1 class in 2023 and 2024. Period. And there's nothing you can say to disparage that. Period. There's nothing you can say to disparage that. They have the number 1 classes. I don't, any chance of someone flipping to Notre Dame, you have to give me a name. I don't think Notre Dame is going to waste their time really trying to flip people unless it's someone that comes to them. Like if someone reaches out to them to say, man, I'm reopening my recruitment. What did Joe Long say? What's going on? Oh, because he said Freeman to the NFL? Man, look, you know what the chat is on LL. It's a place we have fun. Yeah, it's a place we have fun. See if Malik jumps back in. He's been having problems with his connection all day. I put up a story on Jagassaw to preview his visit this weekend. And let's see. So go check that out on Irish Breakdown. Also recorded, I did a really cool video last night. I don't know if it's posted on YouTube, but it'll probably be up around noon. I did a College World Series preview with Drake Bowen, who is not only a football recruit for Notre Dame or commit to Notre Dame. He's also a baseball commit to Notre Dame. So we sat down for about 20 minutes. The video should be posted later on this afternoon to preview tonight's matchup against Texas. That top bracket with Texas A&M, Texas and Oklahoma, and Notre Dame. And then we also preview the rest of the College World Series to see who ends up in the final series. Of course, we both picked Notre Dame. We had to. I mean, he just. I don't know. As far as recruiting coverage, he's not my guy. So I wasn't actively trying to get information from him to see how his visit went. So I don't know. I can just go by the IG story, and he was sitting waiting to go fly to Gainesville for his visit at Florida, and he was constantly posting Notre Dame stuff while he was in the airport. I can only go by his Instagram. I haven't heard anything. I think Devin and Ryan are trying to double team and get information on that. Michael Johnson, what's up, bro? How close are we on both tackles? Probably closer on one than we are on the other one. If I had to put the chances of 100%, they're landing one of the two. 100%. To get both, I think I would put that at about 50-50 right now. One is a hotly contested situation between two schools, and the other one is everyone playing catch up, in my opinion. So oh man. Dr. Carl is harmless, man. He's harmless. Mark 1, they need to get back that Kelly is going to church before a game, then do the walk, paint the helmets on Friday again where the school kids get involved. I don't know if that's going to lead to more wins on the field, but if it does, I'm all for it. When will Dante Moore come back for an official visit? I don't know. Like, he's done all his visits. I really think once Carnell Tate commits, I think Dante is going to commit not too long after that. That's just my opinion. Carnell commits next week, and I think sometime in the month of July, Dante Moore would commit. Just my opinion. Caleb Downs has nothing to do with Peyton Vaughn. Those are two. What the 23 class has done has eliminated positions, and they've created. Notre Dame has made the pitch to all of the safeties. This is how we're going to get all of you on the field at the same time. So that's not an issue. The pitch to all of those guys has always been, you guys are going to play together. And they've shown them how they're going to do it, how they'll be successful. And that's that. So, no, Caleb Downs doesn't impact Peyton Bowen in the least. In the least. More than anything, they want to play together. Or that's one of the draws for Caleb Downs, is being able to play with a Don Schuler, Peyton Bourne, all of those guys playing together. So, no. Sorry, but no. Matt McCarthy, what's good? Do you buy into the Dante Moore to Oregon buzz? At this point, with him, I have no clue. I have no clue. And let me say this, man, because, I saw on the message board over at IB, there was a post about Dante Moore, and someone put that he has, and I don't think this has been said, but someone inferred that Brian Driscoll pretty much said that Dante has bad influences around him. I haven't heard him say that, but I'll say this. A dad that's raised you and helped you to do the right things and gotten you to this point is not a bad influence. And me personally, I would never stand for that, because every father does not have to see parenthood the way that I see it. I have the right to my opinion, but I would never refer to his father and his coaches as bad influences. Like, I think that's a little misguided, in my opinion, to refer to his inner circle as bad influences because they want to choose NIL and other options over Notre Dame. Like, I'm not that much of a homer that I would throw dirt on a father that has raised, like, you talk about the quality of a young man that Dante Moore is. That's the result of that father and those coaches, right? So you can't praise the character of Dante Moore, and then because things aren't going your way in recruiting, all of a sudden refer to the same people that put that character in him, refer to them as bad influences. That's a little misguided. I don't subscribe to it, and we see things different, and that's all it is. And I think we need to a little bit. This NIL has caused a lot of people in fan bases to be a little bit more closed-minded, right? Because if Notre Dame was like everyone else in a state school and doling out the money, then we probably be the same fan base saying, man, we're offering you more. But we're not. We're different. And as a fan base, we should appreciate being different. But at the same time, we shouldn't be upset with people not wanting to choose our difference or us being different over the norm. So if he chooses to go to Oregon and that's the buzz, then that's all good. I wish him nothing but the best. I wish him nothing but the best. If he chose to go to Michigan, I wish him nothing but the best. If he chose to go to wherever he chooses to go, Miami, LSU, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't. But that just it didn't bug me, but I felt like that statement was a little misguided. Like, you can't credit the character of the young man and then all of a sudden try to make disparaging remarks or infer that his father and his coaches and everyone in his inner circle are bad influences. Like, that's really loaded. Like, bad influences how? Because they don't see the decision, his college decision, the way you should see, the way you want them to see it. That's not a bad influence. So that's it. The Richard Young thing is like everybody keeps asking, like, dude, he literally just left campus. Like, there is no intel. There is no intel. There is none. There is no. Everybody has been searching to get intel. There is no intel. None. We'll see how things develop. His recruitment goes into the fall. It's going to go down to the last day. We'll see if Notre Dame can get him back for a game. And if they can get him back for a game, they can. That bodes well if they can get him back on campus for a game day. If they can't, that lets you know everything that you need to know. But yeah, as a fan base, man, like I love Notre Dame fans, but sometimes, man, we allow, and I've fallen prey to this as well before, so I'm not trying to do my pulpit thing right now. I'm just saying, we have to. NIL has changed everything, and the fact that we're not in a rat race per se, is it is what it is. It is what it is. As far as the 24 kids, 3 in the fold already. I predicted and actually wrote an article or put out a tweet last week that Notre Dame, by the start of the high school season, could have 5 commits. I think their first commit in the 23 class was like June the 17th of last year. So the 24 class is already sizzling. Already sizzling. 3 commits and probably 2 more over the next month or so, month and a half. So yeah, that's smoking. That's smoking. Let's see. Look, I said this before, and I'll stand on it. Last week, when all of this stuff was going on, look, the reports that came out were unfortunate, putting Notre Dame in a very precarious position. It was reckless, in my opinion, just reckless. There's no way you view yourself as an asset to Notre Dame and the program to go ahead and do something like that, just trying to be first with bad, unconfirmed information. And then, just the thought, even if it were true, there's no way Notre Dame should have ever put themselves in that position to say, we're thinking about backing away from Dante. You were still his pick. Like, I don't care how long it takes or how long you have to wait on a decision. You're still his pick. He's still talking to your commits. Let it play out. Take the commitment of Carr, let it play out. There was no reason to connect the dots or let any of that information be connected to what CJ Carr was about to do on last week. So it just wasn't played well. And it impacted his recruiting, in my opinion, and rightfully so. And gave his inner circle an opportunity to say to him, see, we told you. See, we told you. And that's all they've been waiting for. Because I believe he had been steadfast in spite of what he was hearing in his inner circle. He had been steadfast in saying and feeling that Notre Dame was his school. Now, things have been opened up, and we'll see what happens. Look, when you're dealing with a recruiting site, there's nothing you can do, man. There's nothing you can do, right? people are so stuck on being first in this business, and it's really sad. I talk about it all the time. When you're covering a school like Notre Dame, there's so much meat on the bone, and everybody can really partake and take a different side of the story for each recruit, and they just choose not to do so. They just want to be first. We have to get this story out. We got to do this. We got to do that, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Look, put it like this, and we can say this now. And I wish Malik was on here to verify this. But it's LL Nation. We spin it different. The same information that was put out came to Malik and I the day before. The exact same information. We got it the day before. Talked on the phone, and said, is this worth releasing? Is this worth mentioning on the podcast? And ultimately, we decided against talking about it because we view ourselves as assets. And we knew, regardless of whether or not it was right, we knew the position it would put Notre Dame in with Dante Moore. Because we're very well aware that staff, the university, current players, recruits, and fans all pay attention to our content. That's just facts. And with that being said, we chose not to release the information. We said it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Right? Because number one, there was no way for us to confirm it. Because you just can't go off the word of one person. You have to be able to confirm that. We weren't able to confirm that. And we're not doing that. We're not doing that. And here we are. The media creating a situation for Notre Dame. So I don't know how you can stop it. I don't know how you can stop it. I don't know how you can stop it. It is what it is. Unfortunately, a lot of people in the business are so fixated on clicks and being first rather than getting a quality story. That's it. Just get a quality story, right? That's why when you guys are asking me about, information the day after a kid leaves, I don't know. Because normally to get quality information and not the same rhetoric from kids who are being bombarded by multiple people after they leave, it's usually best to wait 3 to 4 days when they can get back to a comfortable situation, and then they might give you a little bit more than they gave everybody else. That's it. And we came out on our podcast that same day, the Moment of Truth episode. We came out that same day, had the information before. We had it the day before. The same information. And just decided against it. Because we view ourselves as assets, man. We just really do. We really do. So, we'll see. So if you listen to or you see any articles, the media spoke to him at the 7-on-7 tournament, yeah, he feels a certain type of way. He was also aware that CJ Carr was going to commit to Notre Dame, and he's been aware for months. He said that. So if he was aware, I don't understand how it got to this point. But it's unfortunate. It's just unfortunate. But this is recruiting, man. This is recruiting.
And I just got into this. This is crazy. I just started in January, and I'm shocked at the culture. It's amazing.
Petticoat, petticoat, petticoat junction.
It's time to get petty.
Oh, we did a good job executing.
Are you upset with something?
And fire up the Petticoat Junction train.
I just don't like you.
You don't?
No.
What is today's petty history? Petty Junction.
That's right, Petty Junction, featuring Onora Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com, at Premium American Whiskey, OnoraWhiskey.com. And if you drink, make sure you drink responsibly. Pettiest story of the day. Something did or someone said or did something that's absolutely petty. Vince McMahon goes on the petty train. This dude paying hush money. Look, bro. If you have any dealings with wrestling, if you love wrestling, you follow wrestling, it has been widely known for years that Vince McMahon has been unfaithful. For years. At this point, this deep into his career as the owner, to put yourself in a position to where you have to step down because you're paying hush money at this, bro, you've been unfaithful for years. Like, how do you? This is crazy, man. This lets you know that people of a certain age have not yet adjusted to social media. Because I guarantee somebody let them go to sleep, took some snapshots, took some video, and man, it's crazy. So I had to put him. I had to put him on the petty train, right? Because you survive this long, and then you get caught up at this, like, really? Oh man, it's just absolutely ridiculous, man. And so, once again, that goes back to, because I saw a certain name, and please, we aren't using names, but once again, either you view yourself as an asset to the program or you don't. You don't. And if that's the way you want to play, right, which is crazy to me because people are really quick to tell you to be careful of what you put out there on your Instagram from a content standpoint, but then they can just be reckless on their own. It's crazy. It really is. It's crazy, man. Lucky Lefty Podcast. Subscribe, share, hit that notification bell so you'll know when we're popping in. Hit the like button. It's the Lucky Lefty Podcast. We spin it different. And thank you guys for joining us today, for all your comments and questions. And thank you guys for your support. What's being dude, I don't look, because everybody seems to be confused. It was reported that Dante Moore was no longer going to be recruited. And it was also reported that he was notified of this. Since then, that same publication has walked it back, said that wasn't so, and then came back and said they would gather information. Then that same publication was one of the people with a microphone up to Dante Moore's face, which to me is ridiculous, out in Las Vegas, asking him, is he still talking to Notre Dame? Dante Moore said, yes, I'm still talking to Notre Dame, but Dante Moore was very open about the fact that he knew CJ Carr was was going to commit to Notre Dame. He's very open about the fact that it's something they have to work through and some information he still has to deal with to get to the bottom of some things, and he feels a certain way. Period. So it's not about people telling the truth. It's reckless. It's reckless. It's reckless. Even if someone within the program said, we're thinking about this, it's reckless to put it out. It's reckless. It's just flat out reckless. Reckless. And to me, just logically, it made absolutely no sense. No one would back away from a kid because of a 24 kid. No head coach or program would allow a 24 kid to dictate who they're going to recruit in the 23 class. And when everyone around in recruiting says that this kid still is coming to your school, why would you push back and stop recruiting them just because of a 24 kid? It never made sense. Never made sense. And if they were that, this is me, if they were that irritated about him making them wait, if they were, you got to be better. This is big boy recruiting. If you were that irritated about the fact that you thought you were going to get him to commit in March and April, which, by the way, this guy right here said on this podcast, I don't see it happening because if I was his father, I would have to see some things in the fall before my son committed. I said that when everybody else was gushing about Dante Moore committing early. I said, hold up. From the standpoint of a father, in the history of the lack of development at that position, at this school, nah, I'm not letting my son do that. I'm not. And I'm a Notre Dame fan. Being honest about, man, let me look at this because this doesn't make sense. It's just certain things, man. Things have to add up. Him committing early for me never added up. Notre Dame probably was his leader, but it just didn't add up. It just didn't. So, I know I couldn't create a situation for a young man and then put a microphone in his face the next 2 or 3 days. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. So, and this isn't about anybody getting it wrong or like, look, it's just like, yo, it's reckless. It's reckless reporting, man. You don't do that, man. You don't do that. Unfortunately, this is where we're at. Hey, man, we'll see you guys on Monday, man. Have a great weekend. Make sure you spend it different. We appreciate